Occupy Wall Street protests are now growing, and not only in New York, across the nation. The largest, though, is expected in Lower Manhattan this afternoon, where organizers will hold a march. They hope to include thousands of demonstrators, activists, and union members joining them today. Tamron Hall is the host of MSNBC's News Nation and is at the unofficial headquarters, a park dubbed Liberty Square. Hey, Tamron, it's beginning to gather steam down there. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, Andrea, it is quite an interesting scene. I had an opportunity to walk through. This is their main camp, their Liberty Park, if you will, here behind me. And you have people from all walks of life. You have black people, white, young, old, and this is and it's intriguing the setup that you have here. And Andrew, you got to keep in mind, you've had people who've literally been sleeping in this area since September 17th, when this movement was started by a company based in Vancouver. The mood is festive. I've heard them singing songs of peace, songs of love. They're really getting, I guess, revved up, if you will. The unions will meet up with them around 4 o'clock. The union stage ground, if you will, about a few miles north of here, and they're going to meet here, and they're expecting, police say, around 15,000 people possibly in this one location. We know over the weekend 700 arrests were made. These protesters also had a huge clash with police about 2 weeks ago, so we don't know what to expect as far as the tone here. We also don't know what these people actually want. They don't have, if you will, a manifesto, a list of things. They don't have ideas as far as legislation they would like to see affected by this movement. They have a vision, they say, for this country, and it is not what we're seeing now. Some people, Andrea, have said that this is the counter to the Tea Party movement. I'm not sure if it's at that point. I cannot assess that, but these people want a voice at the table, and they are getting the attention at this point.
They're getting the attention. They've also had a very difficult relationship with the police, and it seemed to me that some real restrictions on their freedom of speech, the no bullhorns and all the rest, those kinds of restrictions that they were trying to work around. So there was a lot of good humor in the way they organized themselves, but it seems as though the authorities are really keeping them very contained.
Right. Well, you know this area, Andrew. We're in the middle of Wall Street. We are right outside of ground zero. The sensitivities are high here, just with that setup alone. And then you have a number of people who want to sleep here. They want to take a stand. But what I saw was interesting. One of the things, you had a line of officers in their uniforms, and they're in this barricade, and a guy walking alongside of them saying, with his sign saying, no more layoffs of teachers and of police officers. So a lot of that, what these people are standing for, is what they see it as a war against the unions, is a war against the middle class and working Americans. And this visual that I had where these officers standing there enforcing the law, and this protester with a sign, he says, you know, really is meant to protect them and keep maybe some of those same police officers in a job one day. So it's very intriguing dynamic here. We'll see what happens at 4 o'clock. As I said, the tone is pretty mellow. You've got people singing gospel music and songs of peace. We certainly hope it stays that way. But what these people want, I really think they're going to have to be clear about it. And coming up at News Nation, on News Nation, we've got a couple of people with us, Ezra Klein, as well as one of the leaders, if you will, of this movement. And we really want the answers. And by the way, one last thing, Andrea, they've been getting donations from across the world, all over the world. I believe it's around $30,000+ in small denominations coming in from people who really identify with this cause, even though they don't have this said stated motive or said stated outcome they'd like to see.
Tamron Hall, in the middle of it all, thank you so much. We'll be watching, so don't miss a special edition of News Nation with Tamron Hall, live from the Occupy Wall Street protests today at 2 o'clock Eastern. And what is Wall Street saying about all of this? Well, for more on that, I'm joined by CNBC's Ron Insana. Has it gotten their attention, Ron?
You know, Andrea, I don't really think so. I mean, from Wall Street's perspective, the bigger issues that they're dealing with right now are whether or not Europe will, in fact, coalesce around some sort of plan to finally put this sovereign debt crisis to bed, whether or not Greece will default, whether or not a key Belgian bank is in serious trouble, whether that means there's more contagion and the risk of a systemic problem in the financial world. They're more geared up about economic data here at home and abroad. I don't think this has quite caught their attention yet. And it's interesting the way, you know, Tamron described them as, you know, sort of the counterpart to the Tea Party movement. It strikes me that they're very much like, although a little different than the groups who protested in Davos, in Prague, at the World Trade Organization meetings, where they were anti-capitalist, anti-corporate, anti-globalization. It seems to be more their sentiment, although if you go on the website, I have to tell you, Andrea, it's really hard to tell what everybody likes, because there's some people who support Ron Paul, shockingly enough, within that group.
It's quite a mixture of people. Thank you so much, Ron. Thanks for joining us today. And what political story will be making headlines in the next 24 hours? That's next right here on Andrea Mitchell Reports.